As we all know, artificial Pokemon are created intentionally or unintentionally by humans or other Pokemon, and did not originally exist in the wild. Among these are Magnemite and Magneton, Grimer and Muck, Voltorb and Electrode, Porygon, Mewtwo, and many others. But did you know that there was an experiment kept in secret and obscurity? No? Me neither. I can't tell if there's such a thing or not. But all I do know is that, like computers, Pokemon brains may be vulnerable to hackers. Technology is already allowing scientists to read Pokemon's thoughts and even plant new ones in the brain. The latest interview of Dr. Jonathan Rathbone, the man behind the experiment, explores the potential and dangers of hacking the minds of Pokemon. The experiment was due on the night of June 23rd at 10 PM Eastern Standard Time. We live in a world of data, Dr. John Rathbone says in the interview. One day soon, our Pokemon's innermost thoughts may no longer be their own. As the experiment continues, there were trainers who put on some headsets and 2 separate control sticks that will control their Pokemon. And their Pokemon, having these strap-like devices on their heads that will cause them to be controlled by their trainers. The experiment is similar to virtual reality devices, only these were used for mind control. One trainer, by the name of Tyler, with a Mew, was one of these users of the ominous device. Tyler decided to use this device and controlled Mew, seeing through his eyes and realizing that it's as if Tyler is a Mew himself. The Pokemon can do the same facial expressions as the trainer, and do the same motions like dancing, spinning, etc. For a little while, Tyler began to have so much fun being his Mew's puppet master. That was until his Mew suddenly ran into a tree. Tyler then felt the same pain in his head. Dr. Rathbone did mention that once you put on the headset and use the 2 control sticks, your Pokemon will be like your personal voodoo doll. You can feel the same pain your Pokemon feels, in the same specific spot where your Pokemon is hurting at. This is done by the brainwaves attaching itself onto the Pokemon, or what Dr. Rathbone calls the voodoo effect. The name based on voodoo practices of Haitian and Louisiana folklore. On the day of Friday, Tyler used his device again on his Mew, and once again when they went to battle with another trainer, Tyler felt the exact same pain the Pokemon felt whenever it was hit by attacks. Tyler never gave up though, which brought him to his victory. On the day of Sunday, Tyler and his Mew discovered something new. They can both share the same thoughts. Tyler can hear the Mew begging for his beloved trainer to stop controlling him, for it's upsetting him. Tyler thought about it, regarding his Pokemon for just a few moments. Then, without a single syllable, he took off his headset and let his Pokemon take a break. Then, when it's time to battle in the gymnasium, he put his headset back on, ignoring his Mew's pleas, and began to confront the other Pokemon. On the night of Tuesday, Tyler began to feel the sudden rush of power as he wore the headset. Nobody knew that every time he wore the device, his hunger for power increased. With greed and more hunger, he became less confident and more erratic than usual. He would wear it every day and every night, giving no rest to his Pokemon whatsoever. Months go by, and Professor Oak is called to see the matters going on in Tyler's home in Vermilion City. The professor enters the home, and what the professor sees is odd to him. The house is vacant, nothing out of the ordinary, sure, but the silence seemed to be a bit ominous. He ventures around the empty home, sees nothing unusual, then begins to smell something rotten. No, it wasn't just a smell, but a putrid stench coming from upstairs. He goes upstairs and follows the smell in the family bedroom. Professor Oak sees the door is creaked open, and he opens it, enters and sees something horrible. Tyler's parents were found dead in the closet, possibly placed there to hide suspicion. The professor cuffed his mouth, until he heard noises outside. He walked down the hall, and as he walks towards the window, opens it, and peers out to see Tyler's Mew flying in the sky. The Pokemon's facial expressions seemed to show some sort of insanity in its eyes. As Professor Oak walked out, He followed the Mew through the forest area and saw Tyler. His appearance is horrible. Tyler's entire body showed very little muscle mass, almost skeletal. His skin was pale and his clothes withered. He was moving his arms and looking around with his goggles, seeing through his Mew's eyes as usual. He stank through his clothes, proving that he hadn't taken a bath in months. This gave Professor Oak a shudder. He called an ambulance and they took Tyler to the hospital, kicking and screaming as he was strapped to the gurney. Professor Oak kept the gear in his lab and accused Dr. Rathbone of being a soulless monster who didn't give a damn about Pokemon being living, breathing creatures. In court, he argued that trainers don't need robots and that this madman should be sent to an insane asylum for his crimes against the Pokemon world. Later on in the courtroom, Dr. Jonathan Rathbone was found guilty and sentenced to 25 years in prison. He'd be eligible for parole in 2018. Rathbone's devices to the trainers were either burned in fire pits or still kept, but only used appropriately as tools instead of playthings. The Pokemon that the trainers were controlling can now be in control of their own bodies, as the humans control theirs. The events of Dr. Rathbone's experiments on trainers and Pokemon's minds have now been forgotten, and Tyler placed in a mental hospital where he resides to this day. Thanks for sticking around to the end, and if you enjoyed today's story, make sure to leave a like, and if you want more like it, make sure to subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss a story. If you need more now, why not check out my Pokepasta playlist? I'll leave that on this card, and I'll catch you in the next story.